On the morning of October 9th, a fisherman pulled his boat onto the shore of Lake Hollow and found something that didn't belong there. A woman's shoe, sitting alone on the dock, laces still tied. There was no body, no struggle, no note, just a shoe. And a town that would spend the next 11 years trying to figure out what happened to the woman who used to wear it. This is the story of Renee Calloway, and the disappearance that split a small town in half. Before we get to that morning, you need to understand who Renee Calloway was. She was 34 years old, a schoolteacher in the small lakeside town of Millbrook, population just under 4,000. She'd grown up there, left for college, and come back 5 years earlier to take care of her aging father. Neighbors described her as quiet but warm. The kind of person who remembered your kid's birthday. She taught 3rd grade. She ran the town's tiny used bookstore on weekends just to keep it open. She'd been engaged once, years before, to a man named Daniel Voss, a relationship that ended quietly, no scandal, no drama. By all accounts, they stayed on friendly terms. He still lived in town, working at his family's hardware store. On the night of October 8th, Renee told her father she was going for her usual evening walk along the lake. She did this most nights, same route, same time, rain or clear skies. She never came back. Her father, Walter, said he wasn't worried right away. Renee sometimes lost track of time talking to neighbors along the path. But by 11 p.m., her bedroom light still off, her phone going straight to voicemail, he called the police. Officers searched the lake path that night with flashlights. Nothing. At dawn, a local fisherman named Carl Whitfield found her shoe sitting upright on the public dock, about half a mile from her usual turnaround point. Beside it, faint drag marks in the mud, leading toward the water, then disappearing. Divers searched the lake for 4 days. No body, no bag, no phone. It was as if she'd simply stepped out of her own life. Police treated it initially as a possible drowning. Lake Hollow had a reputation: sharp drop-offs near the dock, strong undertow in autumn. It wouldn't have been the first accidental death there. But two things didn't sit right with investigators. First, Renee was a strong swimmer. She'd grown up on that lake. Second, her phone records showed she'd received a call at 8:52 p.m., just minutes before she likely vanished, from a blocked number. The call lasted 90 seconds. No voicemail. No record of who placed it. Detective Maria Ibarra, who led the case, later said in a town hall meeting that this detail changed everything. This wasn't necessarily an accident anymore. Someone may have called Renee right before she disappeared, and whoever it was had taken steps to stay anonymous. The investigation turned toward the people closest to her. 7 to 9:30. The suspects. Daniel Voss, her ex-fiancé, became an early focus, not because of any direct evidence, but because exes always are. He had no alibi for that hour. He said he was alone at his apartment. Neighbors couldn't confirm or deny it. But a search of his phone showed no call to Renee that night, blocked or otherwise. Investigators eventually cleared him, though the town never fully did. For years, people still crossed the street to avoid him. Carl Whitfield, the fisherman who found the shoe, also drew suspicion. Mostly because he was the first one there, and small towns are suspicious of convenient timing. But his boat's GPS log placed him 3 miles down the lake at the time Renee vanished. He was cleared quickly, though the rumor stuck to him for years anyway. The most disturbing lead came from Renee's bookstore register. In the final weeks before she disappeared, an employee noted that Renee had seemed unusually anxious, locking the store early some nights, glancing out the window like she was watching for someone. She'd told a coworker, just 5 days before she vanished, "If anything happens to me, check the back office." Nobody had taken it seriously. Until now. When police searched the bookstore's back office 11 days after she disappeared, they found a small fireproof lockbox hidden behind a shelf of old ledgers. Inside, a stack of letters. Unsigned. Handwritten. Spanning almost 2 months. The letters weren't threatening at first. They read more like obsessive admiration, someone watching her daily routine in unsettling detail. What time she opened the shop, what she wore on Tuesdays, who she spoke to at the lake. The final letter, dated 4 days before she disappeared, was different. It referenced her evening walk by name. It referenced the dock. Handwriting analysis couldn't get a clean match to anyone in the case file, but a forensic detail nearly slipped through unnoticed. The paper itself was a specific brand of recycled stationery, sold at only one shop within 60 miles, a stationery supplier in the next county over, frequented mostly by local teachers and one specific institution, Millbrook's Volunteer Fire Department, which used the same paper for internal memos. That detail sat in the file for almost 2 years before anyone reopened it. The twist. It was Detective Ibarra, working the case nearly 2 years later during a routine file review, who connected it. One of the volunteer firefighters who'd helped search the lake that very first night, a quiet, well-liked man named Peter Hale, had also briefly dated Renee in high school over 15 years earlier. It had never come up, because no one had thought to ask about something that far in the past. Hale had access to the same stationery through the fire department. He also had no verifiable alibi for the night of October 8th. He claimed he'd been doing solo equipment checks at the station, but the sign-in log for that night was, unusually, missing a page. When investigators searched his property under warrant, they found nothing conclusive. No body, no confession, no smoking gun. Hale denied everything, calmly and consistently, and was never charged. The case remains, technically, unsolved. But 3 years after the case went cold, Hale moved out of Millbrook without explanation. He's never spoken publicly about Renee Calloway since. Renee's body was never found. Lake Hollow was searched twice more over the following decade, once with updated sonar technology in year 6, but the lake never gave her back. Her father, Walter, passed away 4 years after she disappeared, having spent his final years pinning missing person flyers to telephone poles every October. The case is still officially open. Detective Ibarra, now retired, said in her last interview on the matter that she still believes the answer is sitting in that town, walking around like it's nothing. If you have any information related to a real unsolved case in your area, please contact your local police department. These stories matter, and somewhere, a family is still waiting for an answer.